To another episode of After the Dogs Roar for season 2016. Now this episode is for after round 9. Of course, the big talking point out of round 9 was the game against the GWS Giants, where unfortunately we lost the game. So looking forward to giving you an overview of that game, of course giving you my thoughts, what went wrong, what we need to do to improve, and then obviously get back on the road against Collingwood next week. Now also coming up on the show, I'm going to be giving you my 3-2-1 votes for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award. Looking forward to giving you my votes for round 9. I'm going to be doing a stats wrap up after round 9, who's leading the goals, disposals, marks and also tackles for our club after round 9. So looking forward to having a look at that a bit later on. Also going to be giving you an overview of our VFL clash, our round 7 clash v Essendon at Windy Hill, which was on Sunday. Looking forward to having a look at that, and also looking forward to having a look where we stand on the ladder now after that game. The Bevis burning question is also coming up, as well as a preview to round 10 v Collingwood. We're back at the G after being there just a couple of weeks ago playing Melbourne. We're now playing Collingwood. I'm going to be there at that game. I'm going to be flying over from Tassie for the game on Sunday, so looking forward to previewing that game. And then we're also going to be doing a different version of the questions. You might know that I was doing questions in 3 minutes. I have changed the segment a little bit, and I'm now going to be calling it the 5 fan questions. That is going to be the name of it now. It is going to be 5 of the best questions asked by you, the fans, and looking forward to answering those questions. So let's get stuck in to the round 9 clash for the Giants. So of course on Sunday mid-afternoon we travelled to Sydney to play the GWS Giants at their home deck at Spotless Stadium, which looked to be a little bit sandy, to be honest. It was quite easy for players to slip over, in my opinion. That's how it looked on television anyway. I know some of you at the game might be able to tell me different, or tell me what the ground was like up there in Sydney. I've never been to the ground, so I wouldn't know. But on TV, it looked a bit sandy and slippery and easy to slip over. But anyway, that's a matter for another day, because we're talking about the game here against the Giants and how the Dogs performed. And well, like I mentioned, it was a loss to our Western Bulldogs squad. Unfortunately, it was a loss. It was disappointing, and you know, it is disappointing to lose. I think any team would be, and any fan would be disappointed to lose a game. It's always not good, but there were some sort of positives to take out of it, but there's also a lot of things to work on as well from this game. So unfortunately, we were down at quarter time, 4-3 to 3-4. We did take the lead at one stage. I think it was in the second quarter, but then the Giants, or no, it might have been in the first quarter, or no, I think it was the second quarter. The Giants then took the lead in the second quarter and were able to take a pretty good half-time lead into the half-time break, 9-5 to 6-6. And then it basically went from there, really. We were in the game at various stages of the game, but we weren't really in a position where we were actually going to win it, which, if that makes sense. So that was probably the disappointing part about it, is that we kind of let the Giants blow out to some big kind of leads that would have won them the match. And yeah, in the end, the Giants won 15-8, 98, defeating the Western Bulldogs 10-13, 73. We'll go through the goal kickers for the Dogs. John kicked 2. He did get reported in the first quarter, which wasn't very good from a Ling Jong point of view. He's obviously just got back into the side, and now to get reported and possibly going to miss at least a week or so. So anyway, he kicked 2, Dixon kicked 2, you then have McLean who also kicked 2. He had a good game, I thought. Wallace, Hunter, Stringer and also Campbell kicking singles each for the Dogs. And then the best players for the Dogs, Bontempelli got best on ground. He got best on ground last week, got best on ground again this week. Dalehouse also getting in the best players as well as Pickett, Hunter and McRae. Some similarities from this game to the North Melbourne game, in my opinion. I know there was someone who did post on the Western Bulldogs forum that there were some similar patches from the North Melbourne game to this game against the Giants. I tend to agree. I think the most similar thing about the game against the Giants and the game against North Melbourne was we really had no forward structure in the game. You see, we actually got it up there a fair few times, and there was no real forward presence, which is what we didn't have in the game against North Melbourne. And again, we needed it in the game against North Melbourne to win that game. Same with this game, we just did not have it. The inside 50s, as I have a look here, we actually had more effective inside 50 percentage than the GWS Giants, and we actually had more inside 50s, 52 to 51. So it's only by 1, but still, we got it up there 52 times. Yet we couldn't score from almost half of them. So that's really the disappointing part about the game, was that we probably didn't have the forward structure that we probably should have. But then again, there were some outs. Obviously, Redpath obviously suspended, as well as Boyd, who doesn't go down forward, but still he's the one that runs it off the back line. That was another thing that was disappointing as well. I think our defence was probably the worst I've seen the defence this season, I thought. Obviously, Adams, Suckling, Boyd, all out. You really only had Morris, who was the only real experienced player up there in the back line. Libra, I think, went up there at various stages as well. So, yeah, that hurt us a little bit. And, obviously injuries and suspensions did hurt us a little bit. But then again, I thought we had a side that actually could win this match and really take it up to the Giants. But it didn't work out that way. So, some things to work on for Collingwood, obviously next week. The thing is we really need to have a better forward structure. Hopefully we can get Redpath, or we should get Redpath back this week. Maybe Boyd, there has been some talk, and then obviously that supports Stringer as well, who had probably one of his worst games of the year also. If we can get them back, then we'll have a better forward structure. Then obviously Adams to come back as well. I'm not sure if Suckling will come back this week, but we need to have also some defensive structure as well, because that's something we did not have in this game against the Giants. Okay, time now for the round 9 votes for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest award. Will be awarded to the best and fairest player at the end of season 2016. So let's go through my votes. I've given 1 vote to Luke Dalehouse. He had a very good game with 28 disposals, and we also had 10 kicks as well as a dozen handballs, and he had a good game. I thought definitely deserves the 1 vote. 2 votes went to Liam Picken. He got about 5 marks, had a good game. He got about 22 disposals, had some good influence on the game for the Western Bulldogs, and was trying to get them on the scoreboard, but of course it is a team game. But he did have a good performance, I thought. And then the 3 votes I've given to Marcus Bontempelli. Of course, stiff last week to miss out on the 3 votes against Melbourne, but I know a lot of people actually gave me a bit of crap for that, but I actually did share the opinion that some players, by just a little bit, had a better game than him last week, and I stand by that opinion. But he had a best on ground performance for the Dogs in this game against the Giants, so I've given him the 3 votes. So now time for the leaderboard, and Lockie Hunter, after not polling a vote in this week's votes, still leads on 8 votes, with Jake Stringer there on 6 votes. Also Marcus Bontempelli sitting on 6 votes as well. You have JJ and also Luke Dalehouse on 5. So Luke Dalehouse has risen up after his 1 vote that I gave him. You've also got Shane Biggs there on 4, Kobe Stevens on 3, Boyd, Suckling, Liberatore, and also Picken also on 3. Then have Wallace there on 2, and Adams and Daniels round out the leaderboard on 1 vote each. Okay, now time for the stats wrap up after round 9. Who's leading what in terms of the goals, disposals, marks and tackles? I'll start with the leading goal kickers as I normally do. Jake Stringer leads by 10 goals on 21 goals. Toby McLean has taken 2nd spot on 11 goals, Tory Dixon on 10, level with Marcus Bontempelli, and then you have Tom Liberatore rounding out the top 5 on 7. He is actually level with Mitch Wallace, who's also on 7. Leading disposal getters, top of the table is no surprise, Lockie Hunter on 281. The next best is Jack McRae on 246. Luke Dalehouse third on 235. You then have Mitch Wallace on 223 with Matthew Boyd on 219 disposals. After a 1-week suspension to Matthew Boyd, he still leads the marks on 60, followed by Lockie Hunter on 54. You have Morris on 48, Adams on 44, and Shane Biggs level with Toby McLean on 42 marks. And then finally the tackles. Luke Dalehouse leads the tackles on 55 tackles. Tom Liberatore is 5 tackles away from Luke Dalehouse, second on 50. You then have Roughhead on 37, followed by Picken on 36, level with Kobe Stevens. That's the stats wrap up after round 9. Okay, time now to have a look at where we stand on the AFL ladder after round 9, and we currently sit on 5th place. The Cats, Giants and the Swans all 4 points ahead of us. Of course, North Melbourne still undefeated in season 2016 on top of the ladder. We are level on points with West Coast and Hawthorn, who both got... West Coast did get a win this week. Hawthorn didn't. So we are on 24. Like I mentioned, we're level with the Eagles and the Hawks. So we currently sit on 5th place. Big game coming up next week in the G. Okay, time now to have a look at the VFL match v Essendon, which was played on Sunday just before the game against the Giants in Sydney. This was actually at Windy Hill back in Victoria. And of course, we're going for our 3rd straight win. We've got good wins against Werribee and Port Melbourne in the last couple of weeks. So to get the win here again this week would really put the VFL team back on track. And we were looking likely to do so. Well, not looking likely to do so at quarter time. We were in front to do so because we led at quarter time 4-2-26 to Essendon 2-2-14. We then led very convincingly at half time 8-7-55 to 4-4-28. The gap just narrowed a little bit at the 3/4 time break, but we still led pretty convincingly in my opinion. 11-8-74 to 9-5-59. And then in the end, we were able to get a good win against a interesting Essendon VFL outfit. The final score being Essendon 12-9-81, defeated by our Footscray Bulldogs 15-10-100. So another good win there for our VFL side, which is good to see. And, well, we've got the bye next week, our VFL side. So we get a week off before coming back the next week to play another game. Let's have a look at the goal kickers for Footscray. Watt, he's been outstanding for our VFL side lately, kicking 4 goals. Gabowski also getting on the goal sheet once again with 3 goals. You have Nash with 2 as well as Lynch on 2. One of the questions in the best 5 fan questions for this week is about Lynch, whether he should be promoted to the senior side. Of course, he's on the rookie list at the moment. And, well, he's been playing pretty well for the VFL, so maybe a chance. You never quite know. Hovat returned, by the way, to the Bulldogs side, well, for our VFL side, of course, and got a single, which was good to see. Will Minson, who missed out this week, got a single as well as Hamilton and also Hayes. And the best players for the Footscray Bulldogs, we have Russell, Honeychurch, Dunkley, Minson, Barry and Watt, all getting on the best players for this game against Essendon. Minson, an interesting person not to get into the Giants squad. The squad against the Giants. Will Minson missing out, and well, he got a goal in this game and a best on ground performance. So, well, one of the people best on ground. So interesting. Should he have missed out? I know a lot of you think he shouldn't have. And yeah, it's an interesting one, that one. So after a good VFL win, we currently sit on 5th place, just behind Sandringham, and well, Port Melbourne are up our necks, as well as Werribee and Collingwood in the VFL. So like I mentioned before, we have a bye coming up now in the VFL. So we'll have a lot of the second players will get a good relaxation next week, and then we'll verse Williamstown, our old VFL side, Williamstown, back at home at Whitten Oval in a couple of weeks' time on a Sunday. So looking forward to that. Okay, time now for one of my favourite segments on this show. It's called the Bevis Burning Question. It's where I ask a question, give my opinion, and then let you all give your opinion as well. Now, this week's burning question, coming out of the Giants game, we know that Ling Jong got reported possibly going to miss a couple of weeks. I would suspect at least a week. I doubt it'll be a fine. It was pretty severe contact and he did have to go off the ground afterwards. So the question I ask is, has Lin Jong, or will Lin Jong find it hard to push back into the seniors? It's an interesting question now because Lin Jong now gets himself removed from the senior squad because he is on report and is going to be suspended, you would suspect. And I think he is going to find it hard to get back in the senior side because I'm sure Honeychurch and players like that aren't far away from getting into the seniors. Of course, Boyd's coming back this week. And, well, if Honeychurch and maybe possibly some other players cement a spot into the squad, I think Lin Jong's going to find it very hard. Of course, he's had a good couple of weeks in the VFL and he didn't have a bad game against the Giants. But I tell you what, if you get reported and you get suspended and someone comes in for you and does well, then I think you should be worried. So I think he will find it hard, but I think he'll respond well if he comes back through the VFL and plays well. So that's my burning question. It's a short burning question for this week, but I think it's a reasonable one considering Lin Jong has been in the VFL for the last couple of weeks. I know a lot of you have been saying that he's not up to AFL standard. I tend to disagree, but then again, obviously dropped and then to the VFL side, dropped a couple of weeks ago and was obviously in the VFL side for a couple of weeks. He does battle for his place every week. Okay, Dogs fans, time now to take a look at our upcoming game, our next game in the AFL season 2016, and it is round 10 against the Pies at the MCG. We're back to the home of footy, and like I mentioned at the start of this episode, I'm travelling over from Tasmania to watch this game. This will be my second Bulldogs game of the year. I was there in round 1 when we took on Fremantle and got a convincing win and a fantastic win on that day. It was fantastic. And I'm coming back over to see him at the MCG for the first time. I've never seen the Dogs at the MCG play. I've seen other clubs and other games at the MCG, but I've never seen the Dogs play live at the MCG. So it'll be very good to see the Dogs play. Also on another note, I'm taking my mum over and she is a Collingwood supporter. And it will be interesting because, well, going to the game with an opposition fan will be pretty interesting. And we did the same last year when we played Collingwood at Etihad Stadium. We went over for the day, went together, and who was on the winning side? I was. So I hope I'm on the winning side again this week. But then again, Collingwood got a really good win against Geelong, something we probably didn't expect. So we've got to be wary of them, but we should be able to get back Adams most definitely. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't come back into the side this week. That finger really only takes 2 weeks to basically get itself right. So he should be coming back into the side. Boyd and Redpath should be back into the side as well, so that will make it even stronger and make our backline even stronger. And who else we got coming back? Obviously Boyd, someone to come back as well as Redpath to come back into the forward line. Not sure about Boyd. I haven't heard much on Boyd, so maybe he'll come back through the VFL like I predicted earlier, but who knows? And obviously there's Honeychurch and Minson there as well if we need him. So this is going to be a very interesting game, of course. Hope we get the win, as I mentioned. This game, Sunday, the 29th of May. It is 3:20 p.m. at the MCG, as I mentioned. If you want to watch the game on television, you can watch it on free-to-air V7, and you can also watch it on Fox Sports 3 if you have Foxtel. So looking forward to this one. I'll be there. Make sure you say hello. Okay, Dogs fans, time now for the 5 fan questions. These are the best questions asked by you, the fans. The 5 best questions. Of course, the questions in 3-minute segment. Decide to scrap that and bring in a brand new segment for the questions. I think this will work a bit better because this will give me an opportunity to answer a lot more questions. So the first question is from Mark Scott With our current injuries, where do you think we'll finish come September? Will we play 2 weeks of the finals? PS, love your show. Well, I'm glad you love the show, Mark, so thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for asking that question, I should say. In terms of where I think we'll finish, I think we'll finish 5th, just outside the top 4. In terms of our injuries, I would say that we should get most of our players back, besides obviously those ones that are out for the season, of course, PS, Robert Murphy, Josh Pruden, etc. I would like to think we'll get most of our players back after the round 14 bye. So obviously we've got the bye in round 14, if you don't already know. So we've got the round 14 bye, and then we verse, I think it's Richmond after that bye round. So we should get most of our players back. Nathan Hovat is on the injured list at the moment. He came back through the VFL, so basically he's nearly right to go and is available for the senior side when we need him, of course. Tom Boyd should be back, if not this week, the next week you would expect. He's not far away, let's just say that. Marcus Adams, he's back this week, you would say. Suckling, if not this week, the next, you would think. Zane Cordy should be back by the bye round, even though he's 3-4 weeks away. Jason Johannesson, I'd like to think he'll be back by the game against Richmond, if not the one after against the Gold Coast Suns in Cairns. So he should be back by after the bye round. Rourke Smith, not sure about him. He might not be. Clay Smith should be right and ready to go by round 15. So we should have most of our list back. But the reason why I think we'll finish 5th is because I think the teams that are in the top 4 now, I think it's going to be hard to push them outside of the top 4. I think North Melbourne's in incredible form, and then you have GWS, who we haven't beat. Sydney, who of course we're yet to play, and then we also have Geelong, who we're yet to play but can beat. So maybe we can get in the top 4 if we can push Geelong out, because obviously Collingwood defeated them last week. And we should be able to win our next 4 games. They are winnable. Collingwood, West Coast, Port Adelaide, and then Geelong before the bye round. So they are winnable. So if we win all 4, we're in a good position to make the top 4. But at the moment, I think we'll finish 5th with our current injuries. And like I said, we should get most of our list back by the round 15 clash against Richmond. Jordan asks, which would we go? Big Red or Big Boydie? So that's obviously Jack Redpath and Tom Boyd. At the moment, Redpath is in for me and Tom Boyd is out. Redpath has been performing beautifully, except obviously last week because he didn't play, of course, against the Giants. But he has been performing pretty good, and he's been performing better than Boydie. Yeah, I think Boydie coming back from injury and not playing for the last month will definitely have to put him in the VFL, because he needs a bit of gameplay to get his game back. But also he does need to improve a bit of his forward game a little bit. So I think Redpath is a step ahead of him at the moment, but Boydie needs to just improve his forward game a little bit where he left off from that shoulder injury. And who knows, he might be able to get back in the side. I'm not sure if we can play both of them. I think, I'm not sure if we can play both of them, just with the simple fact, with the team we've got at the moment, I think it's a right balance. And you need that balance between some small forwards and some tall forwards, and I think we've got that balance at the moment. But yeah, Redpath for me at this present stage. Matty Lyons asks, with losses against 3 of the top 6, GWS, Hawthorn and North, is it a sign that we are just middle of the road finalists? Half yes, half no. I think Hawthorn, we should have won that game, even though we lost, and a loss is a loss, and yes, fair enough, a loss is a loss. That is, I'm not arguing with that, but we should have won that game. I think our defence let us down at the end in that one. We had not much players back behind the ball when Sisley kicked that goal, so that's kind of, half made me say, well, maybe we're not middle of the road finals. But then losses to GWS and North Melbourne, which, let's face it, they, were in the game. We just couldn't really take the lead at various points and weren't in a winning stage. Maybe North Melbourne we were, but GWS we weren't. So those losses do. It is a yes to your question. It is a sign that we are middle of the road finalists, and it's true. We need to start performing against the bigger sides, especially if we're going to make a grand final and get past that elimination final this season. Foots Crazy asks, is Lynch a sneaky chance of promotion? I'm not too sure. I've got to admit, I haven't actually seen this bloke play at all. I'm just going by the stats and his VFL performance, and obviously best on ground performance in the VFL on the weekend. seems okay. He looks like a really good player, of course. 187 centimetres is pretty tall. I'm not sure just yet. I think I'll wait for a couple of weeks just to see how he goes in the VFL and maybe make a decision there. But he looks like a decent player to have in your side, and you know, maybe with the injuries we have, maybe he's worth it. Obviously, Collins didn't really perform the best of his ability on the weekend, but you never know. And the final question from Matt Button, what are your changes for next week, especially with Matthew Boyd, Redpath certain to come back, and Suckling and Adams a good chance to return? Yeah, it's interesting. Matty Lyons did post a selectors table like he does every week surrounding his opinion, and I have to tend to agree with the things he's actually said in this post. He put Boyd, Redpath, Adams and Suckling in, so obviously I'm kind of doubting Suckling a little bit, but then again he might come back into the side. So if Suckling's fit, I think Boyd, Redpath, Adams and Suckling, like Matty Lyons said, will return to the side. Jong should go out, like we've mentioned, suspended, you would think. Roberts, I think, has had his time in the senior side at the moment, to be honest, because obviously he's had a few weeks to try and develop in the senior squad, and he hasn't played to the best that he probably can play, so he needs to go back to the VFL and probably find some form. The only thing I'd probably question is Collins. I think maybe Beveridge might give Collins another game, but Adcock, it's probably time for him to go back to the VFL as well. I'd like to see Honeychurch come in, I really would. I think he's been performing well in the VFL. And that is it for this episode of After the Dogs Roar for after round 9. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, comment and share this video. Don't forget to subscribe as well to my YouTube channel if you have a YouTube account. And until next week, I'm Jacob. Enjoy the game on Sunday against Collingwood. Might see you there. Bye for now. Go Dogs.